What's up guys, welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. We are on the Barn to Brat project today. The name of the game is going to be sync the carbs, put the pod filters on. I'm going to throw the tank on and the seat. I don't have my signals or anything in yet, but I think it's going to be together to the point where I say we try to take it around the block. We can see kind of what works and what doesn't as far as you know, if anything mechanical needs to be done. Hopefully not, but only time will tell. First thing I'm going to do real quick is throw on our pod filters. We're going to want the filters on there so that when we're doing the carb syncing and kind of final tweaks on the carbs, you know, we have everything in place, because these will restrict air obviously and can throw off the tune a little bit. So we're going to throw these on. They're just super simple. I got these from 4into1.com and they just kind of fit, you know, just like any pod filters would. What's important on these CB550s is how close it is to this frame bar here. So if you go with like a typical kind of longer cone style filter, a lot of them won't fit. So it's important to get these kind of thinner pancake style collapsible ones, so that when you get them in and kind of seated in place like that, you still have clearance around and there's no issues there. So I've bought pod filters in the past that I had to you know, throw in a bin and wasn't able to use because they wouldn't clear that frame. So we'll just throw all four of these on, and then I'm going to hook up my auxiliary fuel tank so that we can fill the carbs with fuel, get the bike on, get it warmed up, and then we'll move into the syncing of the carbs. One thing to note on the left side of the bike over here for your choke, with pod filters like this, you do need to bend your choke lever just a little bit to clear. I'm talking less than 45 degrees just to get enough clearance for the lever to go all the way up. So just a small little thing. You'll notice that when you put your filters on, that the choke, you know, would have hit, but simple pair of pliers and a little bend, no problem. Got my auxiliary gas tank hooked up. Gonna go ahead and fire it up. The bike needs to be warm and down to a normal idle before you can really check the carb syncing. So we're going to see how she does on a full cold start. Again, I like to turn the ignition off and turn the bike over a little bit just to actually get oil pressure. So our oil pressure light goes off. I'm going to turn the ignition on, make sure our choke is on, and then she should go. I'll turn our idle up a little bit. Got you guys set up back here. I have all my little dampening valves closed. I have a video on how to do this. Fun fact, I forgot the dampening valves when I made that video, but either way, the rest of the steps are the same. I'll throw a card up in the corner up here right now if you want to actually kind of go through, but basically what we're looking for is that they're all the same vacuum. We can adjust if we need to, and we're ideally looking between like 16 and 24 inch-pounds or whatever the heck the reading is. So all of them are closed. It should just start and run like normal. We're going to make sure the idle is set to right around 1,000 RPMs, and then we can open the valves a little bit to where the needles are pretty stable. They're going to flutter a little bit, but we want to make sure they're all, you know, kind of dialed in. So you probably won't be able to hear me once I start it, but maybe you can just kind of visually follow along. they all look really close, which is why the bike is running pretty well right now anyway. We want them within like, I think 1 or 2. Let me see what the book says. Okay. We want no more than 3 pounds difference between all of them. So number 1, we have right around 7, in between 6 and 7, 8 and 6. So they're all within 3. So I'm actually not even gonna bother adjusting them at all, because like I said, the book says as long as it's within 3 inches, 3 cubic, whatever the heck. We're doing pretty good. I think we are ready to go. Just a kind of refresher, I still haven't put the tires on. You guys are going to learn about the decision I made on the tires probably in the next video. I don't have any kind of brake lights or signals or anything like that. I lubed the stock chain because it's actually in decent shape. I still don't have an electronic ignition on it because it seems to be running so well. I haven't been able to justify putting that on yet, just because why, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So yeah, I think we're good. I'm gonna throw my jacket on. Got the GoPro on the helmet. We won't be gone long. Hopefully we don't run into any issues, but let's take this thing on its first ride. Neutral light doesn't work. All right, we're back. It rides really, really good. Really well, I should say. It's surprising, actually. The tune seems great. I mean, it pulls hard. It seems to come off idle nicely. You know, obviously we haven't gotten it up to above, you know, maybe 30, 40 miles an hour. I don't have my speedometer cable in currently, so I don't know exactly how fast we were going, but neighborhood speeds. So I'm really, really happy with with that first ride. A couple of things we need to address. One, the neutral light is on all of the time. So that's should be a simple fix. We'll pull on there. I explained in a previous video kind of how the neutral switch works. Thumb's going to get in there. Odds are it's just the little tab or something is bent and it's just grounded the whole time. So it constantly thinks it's a neutral. Super simple fix. Other one is the rear brake desperately needs to be adjusted. That is way too much travel. Which again, I have another video. I'll throw a card right here on how to adjust the rear brakes on these bikes. So I'm going to do that. Front brake felt good. Nothing to do there. So overall, pretty darn good first ride. I'm really happy with that, and dang it, this thing sounds good. All right, I wanted to show you guys real quick what I was talking about with the neutral light. Mine was a super simple fix. It was just dirty and was causing it to short out. But basically, there's an eccentric right here that whenever the transmission is in neutral, this little copper ring right here that goes through this bolt connects with this little copper tab, and that's what grounds that out. So ground is running through this bolt into the transmission, connects it through, around, and then bam, only when it's in neutral it connects. So if I were to put it in first gear, see how it just switched, and then now the little copper isn't making a connection, so that would turn your light off. Back to neutral, has a connection. Second gear, no connection. Well, this probably isn't the scene that you were expecting to flash to. So, let me just bring you guys up to speed over the last probably 2 hours or so. Basically, I was going to check the neutral switch, like you guys probably saw. I'm not sure how I'll edit this together, but basically the neutral switch was working fine. But as soon as I went into second gear, that little eccentric would turn, and then it would start to smoke, which is never supposed to happen, because all that's supposed to be happening is the ground is just going through that. So that the wire and the eccentric and everything should always just either be nothing or ground. So there should never be power running to it. So I pulled out the power probe, and sorry I didn't film more of this. I really wanted to figure out what the problem was before I brought you guys up to speed, and I didn't think I was going to get this far before figuring it out. So I brought the power probe out and realized that the green and red wire that runs to the neutral light and a couple of other things had power to it, which is not good. So basically what I've had to do is tear apart the wiring harness to figure out where my short was, because what that means is there's a ground and then there's a wire that's not supposed to be grounded that was. So basically it kind of ran through, and I found out that my black wires had ground, which black is supposed to be a common power wire. They were all grounded. And so basically there was something that was, you know, either connected wrong or shorted or something like that. And basically after pulling all of this apart, I found what the issue is. So let me show you. So the issue is this little guy right here. This is a diode. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this diode is used for a few different things. The weird thing is this diode is actually not on the wiring diagram anywhere. But I believe the only other place I know of a diode being used is your turn signal indicator, to not have, like, basically when your indicator's flashing, have all four of your turn signals flashing. That's where I've used diodes in the past. This is a factory piece, so if someone can explain to me more about the purpose of this, that would be awesome. But basically what I finally traced around, I figured out that, okay, this light green with a red stripe has ground when it shouldn't. This should only be grounded when the bike is in neutral. So basically what was happening is it was grounding this wire, it was going up to the neutral indicator, running across to the power wire of the neutral indicator. That's why the light was always on. And what that was also doing was throwing ground into the, or just grounding out that circuit. because in the indicator light, one of the wires is black, the other one is this light green with a red. So basically that was just forcing that circuit to be grounded out all the time. Again, that's why our light was on this whole time. And it was also why our black wires were grounded out, which ran my battery dead, and then back-fed power down, so that when we had a connection down here, that's where it was getting hot and starting to smoke at the turn signal indicator. So basically what I did was I grabbed the diode, put my tester on diode, and then let's see, which one of these is the good one? I believe this is the good one. Hell, I guess we'll figure out when we test here. So when you're on diode testing, if you go one way, you should get a small voltage reading that's coming from the multimeter itself. We're getting right at 1/2 volt. We switch the 2 poles and we get open. Because what a diode does is only allows electricity to flow one way. So this is only letting electricity flow, you know, from this pole to that pole, not the other way around. So that's the good one. We'll put that one in the bike. Here's the one that was in there. If we connect this and connect that, we get a totally open circuit, 0 volts. We flip it. We also, I'm sorry, not a totally open, a direct connection. So both ways show 0 volts. So what that means is this is totally shorted on the inside, because if I just hold these two together, we're going to get 0 volts. So it's basically like this thing isn't doing anything. So it's letting that power backfeed the wrong direction, which is why it caused all of this craziness. So this is really good. This is a good exercise for me. I haven't had to deal with a bad diode before. Now I know what the symptoms are like, and hopefully this long-winded explanation can help you guys as well. I was also very lucky that even though, you know, we had some heat coming through our neutral indicator, you know, we didn't have any kind of fire or anything. There is, like I said, a lot of oil and stuff caked up around in there. So luckily we never got hot enough while I was riding the bike or anything to start a fire. So really good. Now we know this was our damn problem, and we can take another hour or so to clean all this wiring up. It's good. There's a few connections that I saw that I don't really trust that I want to redo anyway, so it all is for the positive, I guess. So, one other thing I wanted to show you guys while I was diagnosing that I think's kind of funny. So you know that fancy electronic ignition that I bought that I was going to put on there, and then I just went and took the bike for a ride, and it was like, man, this thing starts great, it, you know, is riding great, it revs nicely. Like, I'm having a hard time justifying swapping out these points for an electronic ignition if, you know, there really doesn't seem to be a need to. While I was diagnosing that electrical problem, I said, you know what, let me just make sure that nothing's crazy is going on with the points. I've actually never pulled this cover off, because if you remember the video when we first started this bike, we had great spark right off the bat. So I was like, cool, I have no reason to bother with it. And then it was running so well, I figured, hey, the timing is good. So the reason why is because we already have an electronic ignition. So I bought this bike unknowingly having a Dyna S ignition in it. So that's awesome, because now I have an extra electronic ignition for an old Honda, which, you know, everyone knows I'm going to have more of at some point. Got it all buttoned back up. So yeah, a little bit of work to figure out what that electrical problem was, but overall not too bad. So we got it all straightened out now. Turn the key, turn my headlight on, high beam, low beam. The indicators seem to be working. Let's see here. Let's turn on the fuel this way, and then give it a hit. that's going to do it for this week's video, guys. Appreciate you guys sticking around. I'm sure this video was a little bit longer than I anticipated just because of those unforeseen problems, but we are light years closer to this bike being done than we were when we started today, so really exciting. We got to ride it for the first time. Overall, it rode great. Almost caught on fire. Luckily, it didn't. So I'm really excited about the progress we've made. Let's see, I want to do a couple of more tune-up things, cam chain, tension, that kind of stuff, just to make sure it's totally dialed and sorted out. And then the last step is really kind of final work. I need to do the signals. I got new signals that came in today. I wanted to try some from Amazon. I apologize for the wind noise. From Amazon that are turn signal and brake light, kind of like the ones I have on my Triumph, but at a much more reasonable price. I wanted to be the guinea pig. I'll try them out and see if they are worth it. If they are, you'll find out. If they're not, you'll find out. So make sure to check out my website for shirts and stickers. Follow me on Instagram. I try to post as much as I can on there. Some behind the scenes stuff, and I'll see you guys very soon.